Hi guys, welcome back or welcome to my channel. My name is Catherine and welcome if you're new. Welcome to this week's video, and I just wanted to introduce you to a challenge that I want to be doing, and this is not my idea. I totally stole this idea from someone on YouTube and I just thought it's such a cool idea, and so I will be doing a project where I try to read a book from every single country in the world. And in this video, I just want to tell you some of my rules and some of the books that I have read already. I am going to be including the books that I have read in the past, but it doesn't mean that I cannot read a different book from that country for this challenge as well. Yeah, I will be trying to read more diversely, and it's definitely going to take years and years probably. And if you've been following the TBR Takedown series, don't worry, it is still ongoing and I'm not putting it on hold. But I just wanted to introduce to this project as well because this one is going to take years, as I said, and eventually in 5 or 10 years I just want to be able to say that I have read a book from every single country in the world. I think it would be really cool, and yeah, without further ado, let's get started. And if you haven't subscribed already, please make sure to subscribe and comment down below. And if you have read any cool books from different countries, don't hesitate and leave your comments and suggestions down below because my list is not full yet. And so yeah, let's get started. So the rules are very simple. I know some people read books from different countries where the books have to be set in different countries, and then some people do it where they read a book by an author from that country, and I'm gonna do it the way where I read books by authors who were born in that country, and ideally they have lived or still live in that country. I honestly think I have read so many books from different people who were born in the US but have roots in different countries, but I don't want to do that. Ideally, I would read a book by an author who was born and lived in that country. And so in this video, I will just tell what books I have read already. So I have read 24 out of 196 countries. Yeah, we will start from Europe and go by each continent, and in each continent I will go by alphabetical order and tell what books I have read from that continent and what I thought about them. So we will start in Europe because that's where I live, and it probably is not a surprise, but the majority of 24 books are from Europe actually, and we'll start with Austria. And for Austria, I chose Erebos by Ursula Poznansky. I actually read this one a long time ago. I think I have reread this one, and I think first read this one in about 2013, 2014, and I just absolutely love it. It's about this video game, and basically it tells people what to do in their real life, and oftentimes it's wicked things, and it's just a really cool book where some people try to stop the creators of video games, and I just absolutely love it, and I gave it 5 out of 5 stars, and I highly recommend it. The next country is Croatia, and the book is Girl at War by Sarah Novik. I don't own it. I actually owned it, but I unhauled it a long time ago because I only gave this book 3 stars, and it's not that I didn't like it. I enjoyed it, but I wasn't a huge fan of it. It's a book set during the 90s where the Balkans were at war, and it was an eye-opening book, I'm not gonna lie. It's a very interesting book, but I'm never gonna reread it probably, and so that's why I unhauled it, but I think it's a really cool book and you should definitely read it. The next country is Cyprus, and the book is The Silent Patient by Alex Michaelides. And I actually read this book earlier this year, and I was 100% sure that this is American or British author, and when I found out he is Cyprus, he is from Cyprus, I was very surprised, and I actually absolutely loved this book. It was so good. So you guys just have to read it if you haven't already, because it's a very popular one. The next country is Denmark, and I read a book by Hans Christian Andersen. This is a complete collection of his fairy tales. This was actually a gift from my parents for my 10th-ish birthday, and I don't know if I have read all of the fairy tales, but I've definitely read a decent amount of them, and I just grew up hearing these fairy tales, and yeah, that is my Denmark pick. And fun fact, we actually share a birthday with Hans Christian Andersen. He was also born on April 2nd, so yeah, that's just a cool fact. And I definitely want to read more from Denmark and Danish authors, maybe more of modern Danish authors, so yeah. And then from Estonia, I have read When the Doves Disappeared by Sophie Oksanen. This is another one that I owned but don't anymore because I unfolded, and I gave this book 2 stars. I read it back in the day, maybe around 2015, 2016, and to be honest, I didn't enjoy it and I don't remember much about it. I think it was a detective story and it had a lot to do with Soviet Union, and yeah, since then I have found another book that I would like to read from Estonia, and so yeah, I'll talk about that book later as well. And so then we will go to Finland, and I have actually read a decent amount of books from Finland. I've read a number of detective stories from Finland, but the one that I'm going with for this challenge is As Red as Blood by Sala Simukka. This is a trilogy, and basically it's a detective story. And I read it years ago and I don't remember much about it, but look at this cover. It's just, this is the only reason why I haven't unhauled these books yet, because I think I gave them 3 stars. I like them, but it's not that I would love to ever reread them, but the covers are just gorgeous. But yeah, this is my Finland pick. And then the next one is France. I have actually read a decent amount of books from France because I had to read them for uni and then some for just myself. And the one that I decided to go with is Pierre Goriot by Honoré de Balzac. This is a French author, and I've actually read this book at uni, and I think I gave it 3 stars. So I remember I liked it, but ever since I don't remember much about it, and so I bought a copy for myself. And I would love to reread this, and I'll definitely let you know what I think about it the second time around. But yeah, I have read a decent amount of books from France. And then the next country is Germany, and for that one I picked The Sorrows of Young Werther by Johann Wolfgang von Goethe, and this one I read for uni and I remember I really liked it. I think I've read a few other books by German authors, but this is the one that I decided to go with for this challenge. And so yeah, the next country is Ireland, and I think I have read a few authors from Ireland, and so for this challenge, I just picked one, and the one that I really enjoyed was Love Rosie by Cecilia Ahern, or Ahern, I don't know, but I've read 3 or 4 of her books, and I really enjoyed Love Rosie and P.S. I Love You, and then I have read another one, but I didn't really like that one, but yeah, Love Rosie was a really good one. The next country is Latvia, and I have read a lot of books from Latvia because I'm from here, and obviously I had to read a lot of books for school and uni, and I read a lot of books for myself as well, just for fun. And the few books that I know that have been translated into English that I can recommend to you are Soviet Milk by Nora Ikstena and Doom 94 by Yanis Yonevs. So Soviet Milk talks about this mother-daughter relationship, but also in the context of Soviet Union, and I think this is one of my favorite books by Latvian authors. And then Doom 94 was actually set in my hometown, and it's basically like a kind of like a true story based on real events about these teenagers and how they lived in the 90s. And the book was cool because it mentioned a lot of places in my hometown, and Fun fact, there was a movie being filmed based on this book just outside my home, which was really fun. And yeah, the next country is the Netherlands, and the book is The Book of Everything by Gauss Kujer. But to be honest, I don't remember anything about this book, so I think I will reread a book from the Netherlands and then let you know what I think. So the next one is Russia, and I have read a decent amount of books by Russian authors, and I mostly read Russian books in Russian because that's my first language, and so I would rather read books in the language that they were written if possible. So the one that I chose for this challenge is Theatrical Novel by Mikhail Bulgakov, and I read this one in uni and I absolutely loved it. It was really cool and I can highly recommend it. The next country is Spain, and I read this book relatively recently, and that is The Spanish Love Deception by Elena Armas. So as far as I know, Elena Armas is from Spain, and this book is basically enemies to lovers, and it was really cool. It's about this woman named Catalina who basically has to lie to her family that she has a boyfriend, and her colleague Aaron helps her with that, and they fall in love, and it's just really wholesome and fun book to read. So definitely check it out if you haven't already. It's very popular on BookTok. The next country is Sweden, and again I have read a decent amount of books by Swedish authors, but for this one I'm just going to recommend you one book, and that is a book that a lot of people have heard about, and it's A Man Called Ove by Fredrik Backman. I've read most of Fredrik Backman's books, and then I've also read The Girl with the Dragon Tattoo by Stieg Larsson and a few other Swedish books, and I really enjoyed A Man Called Ove. I really enjoy most of Fredrik Backman's books, so yeah, there's nothing much to tell you about. It's a really interesting book about this old man and his life in this Swedish town, and yeah, it was interesting. The next country is the UK. I decided not to divide UK into Wales, Scotland, England, and Northern Ireland for this challenge. I'm just gonna call it a day with United Kingdom, and I chose Jane Eyre by Charlotte Bronte, and this is actually my mom's edition. I think I will buy myself a new copy, and I actually really enjoyed it. It took me a while to get into, but I've really enjoyed it at the end, and I want to read more by Charlotte Bronte and other Bronte sisters. Okay, we are done with Europe. Now let's go to Asia. I have not read a lot of books by Asian authors, but yeah, I have read a few. So the first country is Afghanistan, and I have read 3 books by the same author, Khaled Hosseini. Khaled Hosseini. I am sorry for butchering these names. Khaled Hosseini, and I've read The Kite Runner, Thousand Splendid Suns, and The Mountains Echoed, and The Kite Runner was my favorite. I gave it 5 stars. I love the story, and I can highly recommend. It's a beautiful story about this little boy who lives in Afghanistan, and about his life and the political situation in Afghanistan, and yeah, it was just like very eye-opening and not a very easy read, but a very enjoyable one. And then the second country that I've read from in Asia is Japan. I have read a few books by Japanese authors. I chose to recommend Soul Lanterns by Shakusuke to you. This is the only Shakusuke book that has been translated into English, and I read it last year or the year before, and I enjoyed it. I wasn't a huge fan of it, but it was interesting. I've also read Never Let Me Go by Shiguro Ikisuki, something like that. And then I've also read 1Q84 by Haruki Murakami. I hated those books, but I definitely want to explore more Japanese literature, and hopefully I really want to love Japanese literature. Like, I don't know what it is with me, but I really want to love Japanese literature, and so I'll definitely be exploring more in the future as well. And then the next country is Nepal, and I read this book in May of this year, and that book is The Interesting Activities in the Culture of Nepal by Makesh Kumar Karki. And fun fact about this, I got this book when I was hiking to Everest Base Camp. Just on the side of the road there was this man selling books, and me and one other guy from our group bought this book, and we just wanted to support him. And it turned out that he was the author, and he actually signed it for me as well. It says, "To Catherine, 30th of April 2024." And yeah, he like signed it and wrote something. I don't know what it is, but this book is very tiny, and I don't know if you can get it anywhere. As I said, I got it in Nepal, literally in the Himalayas. I think this is I think he's an indie author, and he like self-published this book, so I don't know if you can get your hands on this book in any stores. But this book has some short stories, and it tells different stories about the culture of Nepal, the traditions, the like weird things, mysterious things that happen, and some weird legends and stories. And it was a really interesting book. It took me a while to get through, and yeah, in the end I'm really glad I did, because it was really cool to learn about Nepal while being there. The next book is by a Pakistani author, and that is Exit West by Mohsin Hamid. And I will be honest, I did not like this book. I owned it, but then I decided to unhaul it. I really didn't click with this. I think this author has another book that I will try to read and see if I like it a little bit more than Exit West. But yeah, I've read a Pakistani book. The next continent is going to be North America. I have read books by a few North American authors, and the first country is Canada. And yeah, I've read a few books by Canadian authors, but I'll just recommend The Handmaid's Tale by Margaret Atwood. This is a very popular one. It got really hyped up when TV series came out. To be honest, I wasn't a huge fan of the book when I first read it, but I think I should reread it and see if I like it a lot more, because I read it maybe like 10 years ago. Not 10 years ago, 9 years ago. And so I think it would be really cool to reread it and see it with fresh eyes, with like adult eyes, because now I'm a bit more mature and a bit wiser than I was before. And so I think it would be really cool to reread and see what I feel like and what I think about this book. But yeah, Margaret Atwood is a Canadian author. And then the next country in North America that I've read heaps of books from, and I could choose like most of my books on my shelf are from that country, and that is USA. And the book that I decided to go with is The Hate You Give by Angie Thomas, because this talks about Black lives and Black families, and a very important topic of like Black Lives Matter. I think it came out at that time when it was like Black Lives Matter movement was very popular, and I absolutely adored this book. I gave it 5 out of 5 stars, and I just really love. And I have read A Concrete Rose by Angie Thomas as well, that talks about her dad, but yeah, it is really cool, and you should definitely read it if you haven't already. But by this time I think everyone and their mother have read this book, and yeah, it's incredible. It's about this girl, Star Carter, and her world basically shatters when her best friend Khalil is shot by a police officer, and they are trying to find justice for him. And yeah, it was an impactful and eye-opening book, and I highly recommend, especially if you're not from the US, and even if you are from the US and if you haven't read it, this is a great book to read. The next continent is South America, and I have read from 2 South American authors. The first one is Brazilian, and it's Paulo Coelho, and I decided to go with The Alchemist. I've read a few of his books. I've read Veronica Decides to Die and one other, but for some reason, I just hated all of them. I don't know. I just thought they were okay, and then, yeah, I don't know. Yeah. And I think I'll try to read more Brazilian authors and see if I like any of their books a little bit more, but Paulo Coelho is just not for me. However, the other one is Chilean author. I read a book by Chilean author Luis Sepulveda. I read this book when I was maybe like 12 or 13, and it's called The Story of a Seagull and the Cat Who Taught Her to Fly. And this is a ridiculous story. I had to read it for my summer reads for school, and I just loved it. It was so wholesome and so cool. It was about this cat who, like, about the seagull who didn't know how to fly, and this cat who tried to teach her how to fly. And it's just a really cool middle grade book that I highly recommend, even if you're an adult and you just want to have a good time and expand your reading. And yeah. And we have come to the last continent of the day because I haven't read anything from Africa, but the continent that I have read from is Oceania. And so I've read a few books by Australian authors, but the one that I decided to go with is The Thornbirds by Colleen McCullough. I absolutely adore this book. I own this book somewhere. I think my mom has a copy, and I read that copy, and it was really hard to get into, and it took me ages, but then I actually got into it, and oh my god, it was really cool. It was about this family and their life in Australia, and yeah, it was amazing. It's a really great classic, so definitely read it. And then another one, if you want something more modern, is The Book Thief by Markus Zusak. This is one of my favorite books of all time, but this is set in Germany during World War II. So if you want to read an Australian author about life in Australia, then The Thornbirds is the one to go. But The Book Thief was amazing as well. I've read The Messenger as well by Markus Zusak, and I wasn't a huge fan of that, but it was still a really interesting book. So there are definitely a lot of options. And then a New Zealand author. I read a book by Tammy Robinson last year when I was in New Zealand. I just picked it up in the library, and it's called Photos of You. It's about this woman who is dealing with cancer, and she finds love in the face of this photographer, and they just fall in love. And it was kind of an insta love, but then again, she didn't have a lot of time to live, so it happened very quickly. And the book had a sad ending, unfortunately, but yeah, it was still a really enjoyable book. And there are a few other books that I want to read by Kiwi authors, but yeah, that's for next time. Yeah, I don't know. Comment down below if you want me to just sit down and update you on the books that I have read, or film vlogs while actually reading the books. So yeah, comment down below what you think, and if you have any recommendations, again, comment down below and let me know if you have read any cool books by not non-American and non-British authors, because that's the majority that I read. But yeah, I just really want to expand my reading, and especially comment about like African, and then maybe if you have read anything by like smaller nations authors, then yeah, let me know in the comments. But yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed this video, and don't forget to like and subscribe down below, and I will see you very soon. Bye!